In the hush after a mountain storm, where rain still clings to leaves like unshed tears, something ancient stirs beneath a toppled fence. A god who has known only fear and vengeance for centuries suddenly finds herself seen, not as a curse but as a person, by two children who refuse to run. This is the quiet miracle at the heart of Reiwa no Dara-san Episode 1. The moment isolation cracks open under the weight of ordinary kindness, and a being who once straddled houses begins, tentatively, to let humans into her world. The atmosphere is soaked in that specific post-rain melancholy, lush greens darkened by moisture, distant thunder rumbling like a heartbeat that hasn't quite settled. Subtitles reveal a masterful layering of folklore narration, weather reports, and casual sibling banter, creating a world where the mythic and the mundane bleed together without fanfare. The episode never rushes to awe you with power, it seduces you with intimacy. The story opens with warnings. An elder's voice cautions children to stay away from the fenced mountain ground belonging to a god. Signs scream, "Keep out," and "Private property." The land is steeped in oral legends of Yamataji Madara, a speckled serpent massive enough to coil around a house, whose gaze sickens and touch curses. Then the storm hits. A landslide tears through the barrier. Hinata and Kaoru, the Misajaya siblings whose family has guarded this mountain for generations, venture in despite everything. What follows is less a confrontation with horror and more a disarming collision of worlds. The entity appears, naked, ethereal, serpentine in form yet unmistakably feminine. The children's reaction is not terror but matter-of-fact curiosity. "Grandpa already told us you lived here," Hinata says casually. Kaoru offers his raincoat. In that single gesture, centuries of dread dissolve into something achingly human. Concern for someone who has forgotten what care feels like to Dara-san, as she will soon be nicknamed, is visibly thrown. "Is your reaction to me not somewhat muted?" she asks, almost plaintively. The children's nerves of steel are not bravado but the pure, unfiltered openness of those who have grown up steeped in the family's secret yet never internalized hatred. Their innocence becomes the first real crack in her ancient armor. Yamataji Madara/Dara-san emerges as the emotional core. Once a vengeful tatarigami, a god of calamity born from betrayal, merged with a monstrous serpent, she has spent lifetimes in resentment. Flashbacks, delivered through her own narration over haunting visuals we can infer from the dialogue's weight, show her pleading with a sister who laughs as others mutilate her. The pain is visceral, yet she has since calmed. The serpent within sleeps. What remains is profound exhaustion and a quiet longing for connection she barely recognizes. Her dry humor and occasional petulance reveal a being learning, awkwardly, how to be with people again. When the kids nickname her Dara-san of the Reiwa era, she protests the slothful ring but ultimately accepts it, perhaps sensing that a lighter name might suit this gentler reincarnation. Hinata Misajaya is the grounded older sister, boyish, practical, spiritually sensitive without fully realizing it. She leads with protective warmth, introducing herself and her brother formally even to a god. Her casual acceptance masks deep familial duty. Later scenes show her listening to her grandfather's worried calls, absorbing the weight of stewardship while still choosing curiosity over fear. Kaoru, the younger brother with blonde hair and blue eyes inherited from an Australian father, is dressed in ways that blur gender lines, a detail the episode treats with gentle normalcy. He offers practical kindness, the raincoat, fried bread, and seems unbothered by the supernatural. His presence adds a layer of innocent wonder that disarms both Dara-san and the audience. The relationship progression is beautifully subtle. Initial wariness from Dara-san melts into reluctant fondness. By the end, she is accepting offerings of crawfish she doesn't want because they count as sacrifice, and the children are already planning future visits. There is no grand romance here yet, but the seeds of profound, healing intimacy are planted, the kind that grows between the lonely and those brave enough to see them. The episode dances between tones with elegant precision. Folklore narration and ominous signs build dread, only for it to be punctured by sibling banter and Dara-san's deadpan reactions. Comedy arises organically from culture clash, her confusion over cell phones, Kaoru's outfit, rather than slapstick. Vulnerability peaks in her backstory monologue, where resentment gives way to the quiet admission that maintaining anger takes too much energy, and that she has already exacted her vengeance long ago. The healing is not loud. It is the slow realization that she no longer needs to be feared. Symbolism is rich yet grounded. The pacing is deliberate and immersive. Early scenes layer exposition through overlapping dialogue and narration, mimicking how legends live in the air of a place. Transitions between storm, discovery, conversation, and quiet aftermath feel like breaths, tense, then softening. The mountain setting itself is a character, lush, dangerous, sacred, rain-drenched. One can almost feel the cool mist and hear the distant bells. Strongest emotional beats include the children's children's first casual greeting to the god. Dara-san's vulnerable retelling of her betrayal and calming. The moment she tests hiding her snake form, only for the kids to remain unfazed. The final crawfish scene, where she accepts unwanted gifts because they are offered in the language of her world. Viewers might wonder why the children are so unafraid. The episode grounds this in family lore. The Misajaya clan has stewarded the mountain for generations and passed down warnings, but Hinata and Kaoru have grown up with the stories as background noise rather than terror. Their spiritual sensitivity, especially Hinata's, allows them to perceive her without panicked. Dara-san's nature, part human priestess spirit, part serpent god, can feel ambiguous at first. The subtitles make clear she is a merged being who has evolved beyond her vengeful phase. The shrine binds the calamity form more than her current self, explaining her freedom to wander at Kaoru's clothing and family dynamics might raise eyebrows. The episode presents it as a blend of maternal affection, cultural tradition, eldest son sometimes dressed as a girl toward spirits, and simple childhood normalcy. It humanizes rather than exoticizes. At its core, this episode explores healing through ordinary relationship. A being defined by curse and isolation finds that consistent, unafraid presence can rewrite even ancient scripts. It speaks to loneliness, the weight of legacy, the exhaustion of anger, and the quiet power of being seen without demand. In a Reiwa frame, it gently asks what it means to carry old gods and old pains into a new age, perhaps by letting children name you something lighter. Reiwa no Dara-san Episode 1 is a masterclass in understated emotional alchemy. It takes the grandest of supernatural premises and makes its heart intimately, achingly human. By the time the credits roll on this second strange tale, you don't just know Dara-san. You feel the warmth of reluctant belonging spreading through her ancient form. You want to climb that mountain with Hinata and Kaoru. You want to bring her fried bread and crawfish and watch her pretend to be annoyed while secretly cherishing every second. This is not merely the start of an anime. It is an invitation to witness something sacred being reborn, not through exorcism or power, but through the simplest, most radical act. Two kids refusing to treat a god like a monster. In that refusal, everything changes, and you will be counting the days until the next tremor of connection.